recently announced that it will be closing Wales Estate. With me to discuss why this decision was taken and what will be happening going forward, I have with me Mr. Raymond Sangster. He is the General Manager, Agricultural Services at Gaisuko. Mr. Errol Hanuman, the Chief Executive Officer, and to my extreme right, Mr. Yusuf Abdul, General Manager, Technical. That means he looks after the factories and so on. Gentlemen, thank you for coming out this evening. I know this would not have been an easy decision because you are, I'm sure, all aware of the implications it would have on people's lives, on livelihoods, especially ordinary cane cutters, factory workers, field workers. So Gaisuko haven't taken this decision. I'm sure there must be some background to it. Can either any of you explain to me why this very tough decision, in my estimation, very tough?
Okay. Well, I'll start. I'll start the ball rolling. For a number of years, we have been spreading our very limited resources very thinly across the industry. As a consequence, our estates have suffered badly from underinvestment, and this has manifested itself in very poor performance across the industry. The estates are in different degrees of disrepair. We have consistently, year after year, diverted scarce resources from the better estates to keep the poor performance going. This has resulted in a decline in the performance of the better estates. Were we to continue with this practice, they would all die. We must not lose sight of the impact the poor sugar prices have been having on the industry. But tragically, we were also making losses even when prices were much better. And the report of the Commission of Inquiry touched on some of the reasons. Even with the bailout in 2015 of $12 billion, Gaisuko still struggled to make payments on time. We still, as a result, suffered from the late delivery of key inputs. Our debt is simply too large to support without radical decisions. We owe the banks, we owe the suppliers. We have lost many internationally credible suppliers because of a very poor payment track record. Over the years, we owe the GRA, we owe the NIS. It's only in December, with the help of the government bailout, that we were able to pay the NIS the arrear that we owed them. We owe the pension scheme. We owe the unions. You really can't run a business like that, and we should not be allowed to run this business in this manner.
Yes.
Were we to continue like this in 2016, we're likely to run out of funds during the year. As I indicated, this is not the way to run a business. Certainly not a business which is as large and as complex as Gaisuko, with its myriad of challenges. We see our primary objectives being to secure the employment of as many of our workers as possible for the foreseeable future, to improve efficiencies and to reduce the current level of losses. We sincerely hope that all stakeholders share with us these primary objectives which we have. That is, to secure the employment of as many of our workers as possible, to improve our efficiencies, and to reduce the current level of losses. In my view, marking time is not an option, as it is a waste of scarce resources and it takes us deeper in the hole. Now, in 2014, we produced 216,000 tons of sugar, and we lost about $16 billion. In 2015, we produced 231,000 tons of sugar, and the preliminary results suggest that we are likely to lose something in the region of about $16 billion. In 2016, this year, we're looking to produce just about 240,000 tons of sugar. And the losses, if we continue the way we've been going, is going to be slightly lower than $16 billion. How can we continue like this? In relation to the decision regarding whales, why whales? Sadly, Wales of all the estates is in the worst shape. 60% of our check sluices, our dredging irrigation infrastructure, is run down. 75% of our bridges on the estate are in poor shape. The cultivation is in poor condition. The factory is old and is in need of significant investment. Now, to go into a bit more detail about Wales. When we look at Wales, Wales estate has a cultivation of 3,356 hectares, of which 2,439 hectares are currently under cane. The remaining 917 hectares have been taken out of cane because of heavy weed infestation. These areas are uneconomical to maintain. Of the 2,439 hectares which are currently under cane, that's the Wales estate, approximately 40% are highly infested with weeds. Yields in some of these areas are as low as 15 tons cane per hectare, when it should be more of the order of 60 tons cane per hectare.
Wow.
It is not economical to harvest fields with 15, 20 tons cane per hectare. It costs you much more to harvest it than the revenue you get for the sugar that you sell. Approximately 50% of the 3,356 hectares at Wales needs to be retilled and replanted. Approximately 40% of the total navigation system is clogged up with weeds. This will require huge amounts of money to fix. Now, were we to try to refurbish Wales estate, finding that sort of money would require us to again divert sums from the other estates to bring Wales back. And were we to continue with that practice which we've been doing in the past, not only will Wales, with that investment, not give us what we need because it's much too small, it's uneconomical, but we are going to further run down the other estates, right? And that type of practice will only lead to the death of the industry.
The total industry.
The total industry, that's right. So what we are trying to do then is to stop that practice and to stop the practice of diverting scarce resources from the good performers to keep the poor performers afloat.
So in a sense, you would say that Wales was bleeding the industry.
Wales was effectively bleeding the industry, or is one of the sources
It was hemorrhaging.
that was causing the hemorrhaging, you know.
Okay. Mr. Hanman, you painted what is a very bleak picture, very dire circumstances for Gaisuko and more so Wales Estate. But how long now was Gaisuko aware of deteriorating conditions at Wales?
Well, this is not an overnight problem. These things don't happen overnight. I mean, this has been going on for some years. And I don't particularly want on this program to go into the reasons why, but the problem has been growing over the past years. And we've reached a stage where it's going to cost an awful lot to try and fix it. And the sacrifice, I believe, will be too great and too grave for the other estates to have to bear.
Okay. I would like to bring in Mr. Abdul here into the discussion. Mr. Abdul, you basically have responsibility for factories across the corporation. If you were to compare Wales factory with the others, are there any pluses, any hopes of Wales, or is that too great a burden on Gaisuko?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I must say Wales factory is one of the smallest capacity that we have.
Okay.
It is just rated approximately about 95 to 100 tons skin an hour. The factory, as the chief executive did mention, is very, very old. It has equipment that are over 100 years old, particularly the steam generation equipment, which is the major equipment for the operation of the mills of the factory. The cane preparation equipment are now obsolete. We don't have space for them. They're no longer in manufacture. And ever so often we have significant failures with the equipment them. As the chief executive did mention, there's for us to upgrade Wales, it required tremendous investment. Um, I would say almost all the equipment there would require replacement, which is a huge cost, particularly boilers.
Yeah.
Boilers are equipment that are pretty expensive. And the other thing is that you don't no longer manufacture boilers of low pressure like what we have.
Okay.
Boilers these days are now manufactured very high pressures. The other thing is that the manufacturing of the sugar that we have, the equipments, the vacuum pans in the process department are also very old, and we have to compromise on quality. There's a lot of equipment problems that we have. So I'm saying that Wales factory required significant upgrades if it is to come to the reliability that we expect. For the past couple of years, we have been having factory reliability of Wales factory in the vicinity of 85%. Usually, for us to have efficient operation, we need to get to about 93 to 95%. So we are far away from that. Last crop, for example, in 2015, we just averaged 85%. We had significant problems with boiler problems.
Okay.
In fact, we had to replace a number of tubes. We lost at least about 4 days of production just to repair one of the boilers then. We have issues with, because of the post-steam generation, we have to utilize a lot more of our diesel engines.
And that's running
And
up
that's
cost.
at a very high cost for us.
Yes.
We had issues where, because of the problems we're having, also to use a lot of wood, which damaged the boilers then
Okay.
because of the shortage of the gas and the problems that we have been having. So the chief exec did highlight on the investment that has been made over the years to Wales factory, and there's significant expenditure that will be required to bring Wales to acceptability in terms of bringing it back to the reliability and
Exactly.
efficiency that one would expect with the good quality sugar that is for the market demands at this point in time.
And at $16 billion losses per year on average, that I think is a cost that Guy Suko just cannot afford at this point. Mr. Sangster, on the agricultural services, if you were to look at Wales Estate and do a similar sort of analysis, how would you rate it?
Well, first of all, the C did give a fairly good detail as to the position of the agricultural status of Wales. But just to elaborate on what he said, take for instance last year, Wales cultivation per se, that's the barangay farmers, only produce just 9,000 tons of sugar, and that is from the approximate 3,300 plus hectares. That of itself tells you that it's very uneconomical to be producing just 9,000 tons of sugar from 3,300 plus
Very
hectares
low
of land
yield.
at very low yields. Matter of fact, the yields this year with the cane sitting on the ground, which we will be taking off, stands just about 49 tons cane per hectare compared to the industry average of close to 60. When you look at agriculture costs at Wales over the years, it is one of the highest cost estate in terms of agriculture. And that goes for factory also, as Mr. Abdul said. So overall, Wales is in a position currently where it's proving to be very, very uneconomical to continue business. And as the C mentioned, it will require huge amount of monies to attempt to even bring it back to some degree of respectability. And as he also mentioned, which we all know, money is very, very scarce in the industry at this point in time.
So, gentlemen, the decision was made to close Wales, but there are workers attached to Wales. What will happen to these people?
Okay, I'd like to look at that probably in two stages. The immediate is that we are looking to improve the utilization of the assets at iFluct. And what we'll be doing in the days ahead is identify the number of workers currently at Wales who will no longer be required at Wales, who can now be absorbed by iFluct Estate. What we will be doing throughout the year is harvesting. So we'll be harvesting and the factory will be working. Because there'll be no planting, no tillage, no planting, and unless husbandry, those people, or most of those people, will not be required. So we're going to see to what extent iFluct can absorb some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing, though, is that we do not want to employ at iFluct and create another cost problem there, which in 2 or 3 years we have to go back and find ourselves in a similar position. So we need to make sure that as we absorb workers from Wales into iFluct, that we focus on ensuring that iFluct is kept efficient, or is made efficient and kept efficient.
Okay.
Now the other thing as well, it follows that to the extent that there are no opportunities for some of the workers, then we will have to make them redundant, sadly. But I think what is also important to bear in mind is that for the foreseeable future, sugar is not going to be profitable. Having said that, you know, as a board and management, we feel that we have a duty to reduce the losses that sugar is making, and at the same time, look at how best we can utilize some of the resources in sugar to get into non-sugar activities, which will create wealth and generate employment. Now, we are optimistic that we can start that process at Wales with the lands that will be freed up once they're harvested, that is the estate cultivation. That during the course of this year, we will embark on some exploration of ideas in relation to non-sugar projects. And we're hopeful that by the 1st of October, we can start on a commercial scale at least one of these at Wales, which we are assured will make profits, which sugar is not, and will also create employment. And I think once we do this successfully, I do believe that the future Gaisuco, one scenario, could be a Gaisuco which has sugar as a division, not making as much losses, and but made efficient. And when prices improve, we maybe move to break-even or profitability. And on the other hand, going hand in hand with sugar is a series of non-sugar activities which are profitable from the beginning. So that when you consolidate that business, what you end up with is a profitable enterprise. Because as we all know, the sugar industry is not merely a producer of sugar, but it plays a significant role in drainage and irrigation, primary health care, community services, and what have you. But we do have a duty to try and make the industry less costly, more efficient. But we also have a duty to put poor performing assets to work, try and create profits through other activities, create employment, so that when we look at the group a few years down the road, we have a profitable enterprise. And this is our hope, and we are optimistic that this scenario can materialize. But then again, the decision in terms of the long-term future is not ours. But at the moment, we are working with the resources we have, with the brain power that we have, and we are trying to come up with the best plan at this point in time. Yeah.
You know, if I hear you right, Mr. Hanneman, this sounds most interesting. Are you indicating that Gaisuko will be, let's say, more than sugar, more agricultural products? Are how is this diversification of Gaisuko heading?
In my view, for Gaisuko to continue to contribute and to be successful, it has to be more than sugar. All the figures I've looked at have indicated that sugar cannot make a profit in the foreseeable future. So I think it will be the height of irresponsible behavior on the part of us as a management team to to pretend that that is not the case, and to go merrily along. But I do believe that sugar for the future has got to be more than just sugar. I mean, cogeneration can be a very profitable activity in sugar. Albion Estate, for example, has the potential to be another producer of power that can be exported to the grid. We talked about other non-sugar activities. I haven't
You're not
given any names yet because I'd much rather we finish the work that we are doing, and then we will release the results as the results become known. Once they're favorable. If they're not favorable, we will not go forward with them. And the other thing as well is that, among the recipe for Gaisuko going forward is that there are a lot of services that we provide that are taken for granted. Drainage and irrigation and so on. And what we're looking to now is to have these paid for. We run an efficient ship. These services that we provide to third parties, be they the regions, the local authorities, whoever, that they be billed, we be paid for that. We have a massive debt, as everybody know. The debt is now at $78.6 billion. Now, as part of this rationalization and reorganization of Gaisuko, lands are going to be freed up. The plan is to dispose of these lands and use the proceeds to pay off the banks and to reduce the debt, and also to help with the financing of some of these other activities. So there is a package of activities which we believe can help us out of the problem, the difficulties that we're in.
Spiral, so
that's right. But it's not an overnight fix, and we need the support of all the stakeholders. I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is for the greater good of the industry. It's to ensure that the majority of our workers have got employment in the years to come. And to do that, we have to make sure that the business has a future. And I think this is basically what we're working towards,
Okay. Well, you started to paint, to give hope for the industry, but there will be concerns out there, Gaisuko workers, the country, will be paying attention to what has happened at Wales. Are we likely to see some similar action at any other estate across Gaisuko?
In terms of efficiency, we've all got to be working across the industry to improve our efficiencies, and that process has started. However, at East Damar Estate, for example, the LBI factory was closed in 2011. The combined LBI and Enmore cultivation with the one Enmore factory produces just under 30,000 tons of sugar. Now that is about half the production of Albion. But that East Damar Estate has 2 field workshops, one at LBI, one at Enmore. It has 2 mill docks, one at LBI, one at Enmore. It has 2 stores, one at LBI and one at Enmore. Now, it has 2 field labs. It has, so there's a duplication that should not be. When we closed the factory, the LBI factory in 2011, what we should have done is to complete the integration of the East Damar Estate.
Okay.
But what we've had is, because we've had these duplicated activities, the East Demerara estate produces sugar at a phenomenal unit cost. So that another priority within Gaisuku now is to reorganize the East Demerara estate into an efficient estate where we can bring their cost of production down. But what it does mean is that we will have to remove these duplications. It makes no business sense. And really all it's doing is raising serious question marks about the future of East Demerara estate. But we do believe that once we complete the integration of LBI and more, that we can make the East Demerara estate a much more efficient estate.
Okay, so going forward, gentlemen, for the viability, the sustainability of Gaisuku, what research is being done? New varieties, higher yields? What are you pursuing, if I'm not, asking for too many secrets to be disclosed?
Well, in terms of going forward with agriculture, with us now contracting our area of operation, put it that way, by reducing one cultivation, obviously we'll have a little bit more resources available to be spent on the other estates. In terms of research with varieties, Gaisuku has one of the most renowned research agriculture sugarcane stations in the region. And breeding new varieties is an ongoing process in Gaisuku. Yes, much more emphasis will be placed on that to increase the productivity of fields. We are also embarking on our mechanization drive. We all know the weather is a big challenge to Gaisuku. Again, having a little bit more financial resources to invest in things like machine and so on, we will be able to improve productivity across the industry. And those are some of the things that we will be doing going forward to try to improve the viability of the industry.
And in terms of retooling factories and the way things work out in the fields equipment-wise, any information you can share there?
Yes, I would like to support my colleague, Mr. Sanksa, with regards to the aspect of mechanization. I think it's the way forward for the industry, and the factory has got to be geared to, to able to crush those machines harvested cane, which are the billet canes in small. And I must say, you did mention about the age of Wales,
Yes.
and compare with the other locations. IFLOC in itself has some very modern equipment. First of all, they have the facility for machines harvested cane, which is a pond dumper. And we see the benefit of that even at Enmore, where we have mechanized harvesting being done, the results of having the pond dumper. But what we need also is to have cane preparation equipment to prepare the canes for milling so that you can have improvement in your recoveries at the mills. And we have that. IFLOC has the reverse rotation assembly, a sets of knives which will prepare the cane to the expected cane preparation that we want from them so that we can have a better recoveries. Besides that, IFLOC also has a distinct advantage is that they do direct consumption sugar. That is for the local, and we are also going to explore the Caricon market with add values to that product from IFLOC. The equipment at IFLOC in terms of the boilers, yes, we do have to invest in that factory, but the investment, I think, it's
worth it.
Worth it.
Okay.
So that because IFLOC is geared to take off the machines harvested canes, whereas Wales is very difficult for us to do that because they don't have a pond dumper. All right. Besides that, we also have plans because I think we have plans in which the cane farmers from Wales will be taking their canes to IFLOC as per the plan.
Yeah.
So we have plans in how we're going to better help them to offload those canes for the pond
Okay.
dumper.
Good. Interesting.
I think what's important to bear in mind, though, is that mechanization is not the panacea
The cure all
for the future guys. It won't
yes.
cure all our ills because of our soil, because of our clay soil, because of our climate.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, the solution for Gaisuko will be sugar, will be a combination of mechanization and labor.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm afraid our time here is up, but this has been our most informative discussion on Wales Estate and more so the future of Gaisuko. I hope that sometime in the not too distant future we can continue this discussion, looking more at your research, at probably opening up new lands and the general future of Gaisuko. Again, thank you for coming to speak with us and with the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.